And hello there, my little mathematicians. Today we are going to be reviewing adding fractions. So if you could please follow along on C-39. Again, C-39, that would be great. Let's first of all take a look at number 1, or D in this case. When you're adding fractions, the first thing you want to do is get a common denominator. What can 2 and 5 both become? They can both become 10. How did I figure that out? Well, can 2 become 5? No. So then try the bigger number times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Can 2 become 10 as well? Yes, it can. Now, 5 times what is 10? What did you multiply the 5 by in order to become 10? A 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. What did you multiply the 2 by to become 10? A 5. So 1 times 5 is 5. I did that because I renamed 1/2 as 5/10. Because if you were to reduce 5/10, it would still be 1/2. Okay, so 5/10 is equivalent to 1/2. Now that you have a common denominator, keep that the same and add or combine the numerators. 5 plus 6 is 11. Am I done? No. Why? Because this is improper. So you take the top, divide it by the bottom. 10 goes into 11 once. So 1 times 10 is 10. When you subtract that, 11 minus 10 is 1. So then you put your remainder over what you divided by. So that means that 11/10 is the same as 1 and 1/10. I can't keep going because 1/10 can't reduce. So what you do is up above, I look to see anytime I see 1 and 1/10, I'm going to put a D. And it can happen more than once, so make sure you keep checking. Are there any more 1 and 1/10? Nope. Okay, but there could have been. All right, now let's also take a look at E. E is lucky. They already have common denominators, so I can just jump straight to combining. 15 stays the same. 7 plus 2 is 9. However, am I done? No, because 9/15 can reduce by 3. 3 can go into both of those numbers. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. Now you're done because it can't reduce anymore. So anytime you see a 3/5 up here, you're going to write an E. I see a 3/5 here and here. And it looks like that's it. Okay, so there's 2 E's. These ones, if you want, you can try to fit them on the worksheet. If not, separate sheet of paper. But these ones, there isn't enough space. We have to show on a separate sheet of paper. Okay. Remember that whenever you show work on a separate sheet of paper, you always want to title it. This is C-39. And you would always label your number and show it neatly. Let's jump ahead to problem G. There are 3 fractions. So I'm just going to, instead of 2 fractions, I'm going to write all 3 of them. Now I still have to get a common denominator for those numbers. So some people do it in their head and they think, okay, well, I have this 10 right here. Can 5 become 10? Yes, it can. But can 4 become 10? No. So then try 10 times 2 is 20. Can 4 become 20? Yes. Can 5 become 20? Yes. So then 20 is your common denominator. Now, if you can't do that in your head, that's pretty tricky, then you can also do the Lcm method, you know, where you write 2 of the numbers. What number can go into 5 and 10? 5 can. 5 goes into 5 once, and 5 times what is 10? 2. Can I keep going? No. So multiply these numbers. 5 times 1 times 2. Remember all the ones along the outside that create that L? You get 10. Now that's a common denominator of 5 and 10, but we still have to account for that 4. So the common denominator of those two is 10. So that's representing these two numbers. And then we have that third number of 4. Now what's the common denominator of those? Well, 2 can go into 4 twice, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. Can you keep going? No. So multiply 2 times 2 times 5. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. There you go. That's your common denominator. So I just did 2 upside down cakes, or 2 ladders, in order to find what my LCM was of 3 numbers. All right, moving back to the problem at hand. What did you multiply the 10 by in order to become 20? 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. What did you multiply the 4 by to become 20? 5. So 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times what is 20? 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. Now you combine all those. 8 plus 2 is 10. 10 plus 15 is 25. Keep the denominator the same. Now I'm not done, because that is an improper fraction. The top number is bigger than the bottom. So you take the top, divide it by the bottom. Top divided by bottom, in and out, inside the house, outside the house. 20 goes into 25 once. 1 times 20 is 20. When you subtract that, 25 minus 20 is 5. So you put your remainder, 5, over what you divided by, 20. Which means 25 over 20 is the same thing as 1 and 5 20ths. Am I done? Nope, because 5 20ths can reduce by what? 5. So don't forget about that whole number out in front. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So finally, 25 over 20 is the same as 1 1/4. Okay, so next to G, you would write that as your answer. Here's your work. And then up above, anytime you see 1 1/4, you would put a G there. The other one I want to help you get started with is the last problem, the word problem. Okay, try to set up the problem on your own first and solve it if you think you can, and then come back to check. So T says a window is made using 2 panes of glass with an air space between them. So you have 2 panes and an air space. You want to know the total thickness of the window, because the separation between them, the airspace, and each pane of glass. So that means there's 3 numbers. Well, each pane of glass is 3/16, because there's 2 of them. And then the airspace is 1/2. So you're just going to add those 3 fractions. Look at your bigger denominator of 16. Can 2 become 16? Yes, it can. So that's your common denominator. Notice how I crammed my workspace in there. I strongly recommend you don't do that. That's like up above. That's why I wrote each number on its own line. So yeah, it took up quite a bit of space, but look at how cramped this gets, and you're going to frustrate yourself, and that's where you make silly errors. So please space it out. All right, you can go ahead and try the rest of your worksheet on your own. And then if you want to check yourself, here are the problems at the bottom. Okay, so you can hit pause and then check yourself. Okay, those are the problems at the bottom. We're going to show work on a separate sheet of paper. And then for the top part, those are those ones. All right. Good job at mastering yet another standard, my little mathematicians. Keep it up.